Hey everybody, I've been putting this video off for a couple days. We all make mistakes. I've been working on Michael's Mk4, and we got Ed and his wife Kathy on their way home. They were making a quick trip up to, I think, Las Vegas, and they had another couple of stops that they were going to do, and that was on, I think that was on either Wednesday or Thursday. They left us, and then not soon after, we got a phone call or text from Ed saying that they were having problems with the car. Stuff happens. We're going to do everything we can for anybody that we know, friends, family, or people whose cars we work on. And in this case, they cut the fun part of their trip short, and they brought the car back here from Las Vegas so we could find out exactly what the problem with the car was. My first suspicion was actually something one of our Cobra family members had pointed out when we were building Ed's car. It was something that I did double check. We saw no issues with it, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you guys exactly what it is, or what we found initially and what we thought was wrong. That turned out not to be the issue with the car. And I'll get into that in just a second. But anyways, here is a fuel pump hanger, and this is from a company online. I'm not gonna say who they were or say who they are. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna turn this over just so we don't disclose who they are, because I can't say that this was the problem. Anyways, this is one of the high flow hangers that the type we like to use. This one is a little bit bigger as far as the output. This is actually a -8, and then it has a -6 return. Normally we use one from another company that just has a -6 supply and a -6 return. The problem that was pointed out to me by my buddy Marcel, he had an issue with one of these pumps, and what had happened is on this terminal, on the ground terminal, the terminal actually was loose. Now, Marcel noticed the one hanger that we were using when we were initially building this car for Ed, and he said, "Hey, you may want to take a look at that." And I did. And so at the time, I pulled the fuel pump out because there was no fuel in the tank yet, and I checked the terminals, and they were good. However, when we pulled the hanger out after Ed had gotten back here to the shop the next morning, we did find that this ground terminal was loose. Now, I've since repinned it, and both terminals are tight. I'm going to keep it on the shelf just as if I have to use a replacement temporarily in order to get a car running. But that could have been a cause of a intermittent type of fuel delivery issue that, in my opinion, when I first saw it, I thought could be the cause for us blowing the fuse, because that's what we were having with Ed's car. It would blow the fuel pump fuse. For those of you that know how these cars are wired with a Ron Francis harness, usually what you do, in this case we're running a Sniper on Ed's car, we take a trigger wire to turn the relay wired into the chassis harness that turns that relay on and off. And so we're using the fuel pump relay that's actually in the Ron Francis harness. It's just an easy way to wire it. And that way you're not relying on a remote fuse off of the Holley or Phytech or even like the Ford control pack. For the actual fuel pump, it just triggers the fuel pump relay that's already in the harness. So anyways, it's neither here nor there at this point. That was not the problem. We replaced the hanger. I actually robbed Peter to pay Paul. If you're listening to this video, Michael, I did borrow your hanger for your Mk4 because we had it here and wanted to see if we could get the problem fixed. But I do have another one on the way for your car, Michael. But what we did is we replaced that, and then we still had a problem with the fuse because we replaced that fuel pump hanger before Ed and his wife Kathy left for Las Vegas. So he was in Las Vegas, out on Las Vegas Boulevard, and the car blew the fuse, and the car died. And you know, again, Ed, I apologize. But here's what we found. We actually got it back to the shop here, and we went through everything that we thought it could be. I immediately went to a ground issue, and we traced the grounds all the way back. The grounds were landed well. We looked at the size of the Ron Francis harness. It's a 14 gauge wire, which is more than adequate for a 15 amp circuit, which is what they put in there for the fuse. I went ahead and I ran a secondary ground at the fuel pump in the back of the car, thinking, well, maybe just by adding another ground, we could alleviate the problem. Maybe the fact that the circuit had to go all the way to the back to the fuel pump and work all the way back under the dash is where the ground is landed, that maybe that was an issue. Now, keep in mind, we've never had this problem with any other car that we've had go through the shop. And we've done the Phytech, the Sniper, the Coyote with the Ford control pack, all kinds of different systems, and we've never had this problem before. So my next thing was to look to see what kind of amp draw this particular 340 liter per hour pump was pulling. And I looked it up online, and it says it pulls 11 or 12 at 55 psi. And that just didn't seem right to me. But we went ahead, since I had another pump in stock. Actually, we actually had the pump that was delivered as part of Ed's complete kit, which is a Warborough 255 liter per hour pump. And so we put that on the new hanger, and we put it in, and that's the one that he left for Vegas with. And in our process of troubleshooting on Saturday, I think they got back here on Friday. They took an extra day in Vegas, so they came back here Friday night, and so we worked on the car on Saturday. I put my amp probe on the circuit that feeds the fuel pump, and as soon as the fuel pump reaches pressure, the amperage spikes at 15.8. It was 15.84, which is almost 16 amps, which intermittently on the wire is fine because it doesn't run there when it's running and the car is running, and as long as it's using fuel, it drops down. It drops down to, I think, 11 or 12 amps, right in there. The problem we had is that every time that the pump deadheaded, meaning there wasn't enough flow going through the fuel pressure regulator, the fuel pressure regulator was actually slowing the flow back down to the tank, or the engine wasn't using that much fuel, the amps would spike and they would go just past 15, and that's when it would blow the fuse. So our short-term solution on this, and we're going to see how well, Ed's on his way back to Texas. We're just going to have to see how this all works out. Our last thing to fix this will end up being to upsize the wire if we need to. But what the rationale is right now is we believe that by putting a larger fuse in line, the wire is still protected, because if it shorts out, it's going to short out. But it's that spike in the load that it gets temporarily when you're off throttle, and that pump pressure works against the fuel pressure regulator, and it just draws the amps just up past 15, and that's when the fuse blows. So just know that these oversized, there's a reason that there are companies out there that make larger wire harness and connectors for these Ford fuel tanks. And that is because we're putting larger and larger fuel pumps in these cars, and now the amp load is going up. And if you don't cover yourself, especially, you know, some guys are running even bigger than a 340 in, you know, Fox Body and SN95 Mustangs. Some of them are running 2 fuel pumps, and they're running E85, and so a huge demand on the electrical going back to the fuel pumps. So we're going to see how that all works out. I'm trying to keep this video short, but I do want to cover some of the things that we went over, that we've done on Michael's car since Ed has left. But it wasn't what we thought it was. It wasn't that hanger. Although the hanger may have become a problem later, we found out that even replacing that hanger and the fuel pump and reducing the size didn't make a substantial enough difference to bring the amp load down on that circuit in there. I'm going to pass along this information to the powers that be and see if, you know, maybe in the future they can increase the wire size going to the back of the car. But for the time being, it is what it is. Just know that, guys, that if you have a problem blowing fuel pump fuse going to the back of the car through the Ron Francis harness, that it may just be that you're drawing too many amps. Your fuel pump may just be a little bit too big. So that's Ed's car. I just wanted a quick wrap up on that. And then what we have been working on Michael's car is we got the rear end assembly all wrapped up. We had been working on the gears previously. The gears have been set. Everything is set the way it's supposed to. The preload on the pinion is done. The backlash on the ring gear is done. We have started to put the brake hoses and the brake caliper mounts, the 3-link bracket, the rear covers on. I've got to do the hard brake lines going across the axle and tying into the distribution block, but that's pretty much ready to go now. The back of Michael's car has changed quite a bit because we've been pulling things out. We pulled the old gas tank out, and that's all been disposed of properly. We've got the new gas tank here. The existing rear axle, which is from the 2003 Mustang, is going to be coming out of there. So if you look in there, you can see that the upper link is still kind of hanging in there. And then we'll be pulling all that stuff out and cleaning it. We'll pull out the panel bar, we'll clean it up. We're going to inspect all of the rod ends to make sure they're good. I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to replace the coilovers in the back because they are the old Bilstein coilovers. And pretty soon, probably sometime this week, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be cutting out some of this structure right in here for our side mount battery box. And we'll probably start working on the drop trunk modification for here. I'm going to probably temporarily put the fuel tank in just so we can get the maximum amount of storage space in for that drop down box. So the back of Michael's car has changed quite a bit, and I'm hoping to get this rear axle out of here so that we can start cleaning up all of the existing black powder coat on here and then touching it up with some black gloss paint to make everything kind of look new and shiny. We do have some new parts for Michael's car, new old parts. We ordered a new pedal box that arrived late last week, and that's over here. I've got it just sitting in the passenger foot box. This came to us in really good used condition, so pretty much everything that we need is on there, and even the clutch safety switch. So even though it was disabled previously on Michael's car, I think we're going to go ahead and re-enable that so that the car won't start unless the clutch is pushed in. But I think that'll give you kind of a quick catch-up on Michael's car, and then some of the stuff that some of the turmoil we went through this past week with Ed's car. I think I saw an update from Ed. He was somewhere on his way back to Texas today, and it looked like he had either stopped to just check the straps in the trailer to make sure the car was not moving and the straps were tight, or maybe he even took the car out for a little run around for wherever he was going to bunk down for the night. I hope it was the latter. I hope he's getting use out of the car each night when he stops. So we're looking for updates from him once he gets back to Texas and he has some time to start putting miles on the car. I think it's going to be fine, but only time will tell. And I'll keep you guys updated on it as well. I just want to share as much knowledge on this kind of stuff as I can, because, you know, when a lot of us started on these projects, you know, my first project was my own Mk4. We had a great community then, but we just didn't have the knowledge base on some of the finer points back then. And the car hobby has changed a lot in those 20 to 25 years since Factory 5 was started. And so now there's so much more tech out there. And, you know, just little things like being able to put the amp probe on the circuit and being able to see exactly what these bigger fuel pumps are requiring. Sometimes it's not just a matter of, you know, I want to supply, you know, X amount of fuel to my engine. You have to think about the secondary parts of it, which are the supplying power to that bigger pump, you know, that's feeding that extra fuel to the engine. So anyways, that's going to be it for today, guys. I really appreciate you watching the videos. I'm not going to beg you to subscribe and like and all that stuff, but if you do, thank you. We do these videos more for the people that we're building the cars for than anything else. But we just want to share what we know and what we've learned. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. We'll see you.